So next, what we're going to look at is how to create our own class. To keep things simple, we're just going to have vending machines that only dispense one product, just to not overwhelm ourselves here. So we have vending machines that only dispense Pepsis or only dispense, I don't know, bags of Cheetos. Fun fact: my 3-year-old son seems to think that Chester Cheetah is the same as Tigger from Winnie the Pooh. So he's lately been asking to have Tigger chips, which means he wants Cheetos. So fun fact. But anyway, that doesn't really have much to do with anything, but I found it endearing. All right, so what do we got? So we're going to define a class. It's going to be called vending machine. This much we've kind of seen before. You got these braces here, and then you've got to have your semicolon after the brace. We'll get into this later, but we're going to start by saying that this is public, which basically just means when people use our class, they'll actually be able to see it, is basically what that means. We're going to create a float, also known as a decimal. We're going to create a float inside of it called the price. So then here's what we can do. In the main program, we will create a vending machine. And this first one we will call the lobby machine. We will create another vending machine, and we're going to name it the break room machine. So this is just like, int x, or int y, float x, float y. Same kind of idea. You give the type, which is vending machine, and then you give the name. Then what we're going to do is we're going to say, okay, the name is lobby machine, and then we're going to initialize a value for price. So we're going to do lobby machine dot price, and we're going to set that equal to $1. So the price of whatever's in the lobby machine is $1 for each item. Do the same thing here. We're going to take the break room machine. We're going to do dot price and set that equal to $2.25. And so then here we've got a cout statement that's just going to tell us, okay, what's the lobby machine price? What's the break room machine price? And so we run this, and it'll just spit back out, $1 and $2.25 for us. Prices are $1 and $2.25. So there you go. So if you're going to declare in your main program a value of a variable, you would do it like this. So you start with the keyword class. The name of the class follows, which is like the variable type when we are making objects of the class. Put a semicolon after the closed brace. It's unusual and easy to forget about. Classes need the semicolons. So once we define our class, objects will be instances of the class. We have 2 instances of the class. We have the lobby machine, we have the break room machine. Each of those is an object. We are going to store data in our class. The class contains itself and a set of member variables and a set of member functions. I've kind of said that already. So we have a member variable called the price. It's going to be a float, and we are declaring it public. And again, we'll get into what public means in more detail later. But by making it public, that means that a member variable can be seen outside of the class. So, I mean, that kind of makes sense, right? If you're out in public, other people can see you, right? Like, you're not cloistered up in your house and no one can see you. That's kind of the opposite of public is private. Just imagine that. Anyway, so this would be a good thing to do because obviously if you do have a vending machine, you probably do want the users of your machine to be able to see what the prices are. You don't necessarily want to have that be like a secret, let's just say. You probably have a lot of frustrated people if you don't actually tell them the prices of your items, unless you want to like make it into like a guessing game. That's probably more trouble than it's worth. The class has a member variable called price. It is a float. We're going to declare it like we always do. The vending machine contains a member variable. Another name for that is an attribute. which is price, and every object vending machine will have the subvariable inside of it. To access the subvariable and attribute of this instance of the class vending machine, you can do it this way. And this is kind of the generic way you always do it. You do the object, not the class name, but the specific object, and then you do dot the name of the member variable. So for instance, lobby machine dot price, and then you can like set it equal to a value. So here we're going to step things up a notch in our next sample bit of code, where instead of just one member variable, now we got, I think, 3. Or no, I guess 4 is what we got. Oh, look at that. All right. So here we're going to have 4 different variables. We're going to have price, credit, money collected. Those are all going to be floats because, you know, with dollars, you can have decimal values. The inventory, you're either going to have 2 bags of chips or 1 bag of chips. You're not going to have 0.81 of a bag of chips. That's like not a thing. So that we're going to define as an inventory. And so then we can make the lobby machine, we can make the break room machine, and then like we did before, do the object dot, then the variable name, and then you can set it equal, you can initialize it to some value. So the price is $1, the inventory is going to start at 200. The credit is going to be 0 because nobody's put in any coins. And then the money collected is also 0 because we haven't sold anything yet. And this is you won't really see much, but you know, we executed it and the compiler didn't get mad at us. So, but we just made a vending machine there. In the language of C, there was actually kind of a way to do something similar. In the language C, there was something called a struct, which is short for structure. And so a structure, you know, you could, if you were doing this in C, and I mean, you can do this in C++ and it'll do the same thing. So, I mean, we could do this as well. It's not going to look a whole lot different, but it'll run and it'll work correctly. So there you go. So in C, you could do this thing called a struct. So a class and a struct are pretty much the same, but the class has an added benefit that you can add member functions to it. So struct is basically a holdover from C. Frankly, at this point, there's not much point in using them anymore, but they're still there and they're still a thing. But it's kind of like an appendix or a tailbone. It's still there, but you don't really need it.
You couldn't call functions.
Exactly. That's the big difference, is that in a class, you can put functions inside the class. With a struct, it only holds variables and that's it. That's the key difference.